Welcome to tacosandgeeks.com. We are here with Gotham Geek Girl Nadia. How you doing? We are going to be talking about Invincible Season 2, Part 2, full-blown spoilers now. This is a complete spoiler review. So if you haven't finished watching it, well, go to our non-spoiler reviews, and you can check those out at Gotham Geek Girl, and of course, Otakus and Geeks non-spoiler review as well. So we're gonna kick this off. I'm gonna pass it off to Nadia. What were your thoughts on this whole season as a whole?
So I think the break kind of made things a little, I don't know. I like that they addressed it. I'll get to that in a bit. I like that they addressed it, but I think it kind of like, I don't know, not took the excitement out of it, but it was kind of a long wait. And then because I absolutely loved it. My only real complaint is that it was very fast. It was very short. A lot happened in these episodes, but at the same time, I feel like they kind of rushed through certain plot lines. But overall, I thought it was badass. It was bloodier than ever. We had some epic ass, like I basically described it as like I know Invincible came out like around the same time, like comic wise, but like boys moments. Like they upped the ante on like the violence when you didn't think they could, they did. And there was a lot of shock, a lot of like shocking moments. Like I guess we could get into it, like the Guardians and like some like brutal shit. And then we're gonna get a little more into basically seeing like Omni-Man come back. That was kind of like trippy, what's gonna happen with that. Because I do feel like there's still a lot of things that weren't completed yet, if that makes sense. But I still loved it. I had a blast.
Sean?
Well, so my I love this season because they touched on everything from you know um, his relationship with his mom, his relationship with his dad. They touched on everybody. They basically touched on a lot of people's relationships, especially the Immortals' relationship with what's her name, the
Duplicate.
Duplicate. So, I mean, and that to me was like they didn't expand on it as much until like the last episode, but to see that he had such an emotional attachment to her, and when he thought that she was completely dead, which bugged me out because the scene where she's supposed to die, I'm like, wait a minute, she starts to duplicate. So how come the way the monster was holding her, she couldn't like just duplicate and jump off? Because I'm thinking things on the line of like Jamie Madrox in Multiple Man. You could be squeezing him, he can still multiply to another, duplicate himself again. And so my thing was like, if that's the case, how come she just like the duplicate? Like, what was that monster doing to stop her duplication? Because you saw it strained for a second, and then he just killed her. So I was just like, oh crap. But I will say, like anybody who saw episode, what was that, episode two? Like Rexplode is forever gonna be the G. Like he will forever be the man because I mean my brother took a bullet to the head and still got up and killed his enemy, and then he went right back out there, to test himself. Like, will I go through PTSD and not be able to perform like I did before, or will I still have it to be a hero? And I mean, he showed himself, and then like when he got his upgrade, like he was just like, oh, why didn't I start with this? Like that, whatever they did to upgrade his arm is like they put him on another level. And what else in it? The relationship between him and his mom and his little brother and what she's going through is deep. It's really deep in the story
Yeah.
because when you watch his mother like sit down and say, like school is important. If you don't become a hero, at least you have a degree. At least it's the same thing all parents preach to us. If even if you want to follow your dream, as long as you have a degree, you can go out there and you can do something else if this doesn't fall through.
Yeah.
And he was just like, I'm hurting everybody. Like I'm, I lost Amber. You got hurt because an enemy found you and you're messed up. My little brother could have gotten killed because his powers haven't manifested yet. So if that last part of the episode like really got to you because you saw the pain in his mother's eyes, but the understanding that she said that he was like, I'm gonna commit to this full superhero mode, period. And I will also say the alien. I hate because I forget their names. When they're going to the one-eyed alien, was it
the one played by Seth
L?
Rogen?
L?
Yeah, L.
So him realizing how strong he got, like I thought it was a double cross by the first and second episode, it was a double cross. But to know that they did that so that he could become stronger, and he would, because you saw it when he fought a Viltrumite, and he was like, wait, that didn't hurt, like he gets hit, he gets knocked back, and he's like, wait, that didn't hurt. That's like I'm okay. And then he plays dead, and I was just like, oh, this guy is getting it. He's brilliant, and also watching Omni Man sit there and like take hits and know that he's going to be executed, but being okay with what's going to happen to him. I was just like, okay, this is a little bit of a redemption for him. Still not a full redemption. I mean, anybody who's read the comic books, I'm pretty sure all of you guys have read the comic, and you saw his full redemption story through the comic. So I'm also interested to see how they're going to play that redemption out for him. But one thing I do hope for in the future with a new season coming out is we get to the Viltrumite Wars. Mm-hmm. I really want to get to that. I really want to. There's one thing in particular I want to get to. I want to get to the second general in charge. His battle with Battle Lion or whatever, the one that beat the hell out of Invincible the first season. Because that was an interesting turn in the comic book. Like he's Omega level strong, and he took on a Viltrumite like for days. So that was an interesting part of the comic book. But let me turn it over to Justin. I think Justin has his parts he wants to put in there. I think we've talked way too much.
Yeah, like, do you want to go by episode or?
I think we can go by. Well, it's up to you. Which one do you want to go to? You want to go from episode to episode, or you want to, let's go by. But let's hear what Justin has to say first.
Well, first, I mean, just to reiterate what I was saying before is just that I would have to say, just wow. First, the brother reveal was just the fact that he was still out there and just still doing what he was doing on Earth. It was just like, hey, we're going full blown. Not to bring Marvel into this, but going Ego the Living Planet by just planting seeds everywhere. I thought that was really good. I thought the action, just the way, the guy who became an android, I forgot what
robot,
not robot, the scientist. When he, the one with the glasses, I forgot his name on the life of me, like you.
I have it.
Yes, that guy. I think his story arc was really, really freaking good. I thought what they did with him,
Donald.
Thank you, Donald. For me, it was obviously the mother. Of course, it was Mark, but Donald's story, the fact that he got a lot of time. And the fact that they did enough to develop him when he has his own arc in this as well, and it was just like, hey, dude, you kind of died, we saved you, we put you in this thing because you need it, and it was just absolutely brilliant. But I mean, just to piggyback off of like just from full-blown spoilers, just from the action, from let's talk about that female Viltrumite that fight scene. What?
Yeah.
With him, I mean, there's something Sean told me about in the comics that I was just like, oh, that happens? I'm surprised they didn't happen.
I don't know if they're going to get to it.
They probably won't, but won't spoil it here because that will be spoiling the comic. But that person, she is very intricate to what's going to be happening in the future. So that's the one character I'm really looking forward to.
So... where do you want to start, Nadia? What episode do you want to start at? What's your first
I guess just kind of start with like the beginning. Maybe by like topic, kind of how I feel like part 2 kind of picks up like literally right in the action, like right after the aftermath. Mark discovers, about Thraxa, where his father has been this whole time, how his dad was a king and had a child. Um, Mark has been away for 2 months essentially, and like he's just getting back home. And I think this season showed a little bit more of kind of, I guess, Deb's like devastation in general in season two. Like the first half, we kind of saw her like dealing with alcohol and, basically like deep depression. This season, I think we're starting to see her come to like a realization of like, this really happened and she has to get her life back together. And Mark was gone for 2 months and now he comes back and she finds out like Nolan had a freaking kid, alien kid. But like it was, I guess, a really difficult like decision for her to like take, this kid on. What's figure out what they named him again? Um,
What was it? I think Oliver. That was his name,
Oliver.
Oliver.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
random.
I had to think of the color. So him coming in as Oliver and Oliver looking like a full blown human child, like was great. And I mean, I know in the comic, he Oliver grows up and he gets his powers a little faster than like Invincible did. A little faster. I keep calling him, but to say before Mark did, he gets his powers before then. But to see Mark Oliver in his vulnerable state until he gets his powers, and to see how his mom, even though she was reluctant to do it, quickly like forms a bond with this child. Like this is like, it's kind of like this is my deadbeat husband's child with another woman, and because the mom is gone, I now have to raise this child, and for her to like put all that aside and decide to raise the baby was deep for me. So coming back, and this is I know we're going by episode 1 and episode 2, but like this it's probably what episode 2 or 3 where he comes back with Oliver. I think it's episode 2 he comes back with Oliver.
Yeah.
So dealing with that was a deep thing to deal with, because she also refused to let the government take the baby and raise the baby. She was just like, no, this is my job to do it. This is what I have to do. What do you call it? It's I have to deal with the baby going in, and I was just like, oh wow, I was like, this season there was action, but they really dealt with relationships, everybody's relationships, even his relationship with Amber. I mean, we saw it coming, but we didn't see it coming like that. Like,
yeah, they did it.
That was deep as hell. So, Nadia, what did you think about him and Amber's relationship and how it started and where it ended?
I think this season really started to make me like Amber a little more. I didn't initially like her that much in season 1. But this season I'm starting to really like kind of feel bad for her. She's kind of, dealing with the fact that even though she knows Mark's secret, that doesn't really change things in the long run. Essentially he's always off. Like he didn't even know, I'm trying to remember which episode that is, but that her grandfather passed away. And like basically her friends don't even think she has a boyfriend. So it's like she always has to lie to everyone around her. And like, I don't know, I guess that was like a lot for her to deal with. And I don't know. I think this do you remember which episode? I'm trying to remember which episode it was, but basically since we'll go by topic, when they're both having the conversation at the same time, that scene was like beautifully done where they're like
Yeah.
kind of like talking, saying some of the same lines, and it was just done so beautifully where it was like you should be telling her this, you should be telling him this. And that was one of my favorite scenes. And even though that wasn't like a fight scene or anything crazy, it was still like a remarkable like scene where you felt like, oh shit, this is like, is it gonna end?
Was the scene with um when Mark goes to the Comic-Con with her, and they explain why, like, kind of gave us a little idea of why it took so long with Invincible to make the next season, and the way they're cutting everything up so it doesn't take as long by showing us how, like, oh, when a person is talking, we show them from behind, but we won't show them in the front, and different things gonna happen. So it was like it was a good thing to tell us, like, so we know that hopefully season three won't be another 2 year wait. Maybe it's a year and a half wait, but it's not a 2 year wait. And hopefully they've already been working on it. Yeah, it shouldn't take long with the next season coming in. So Nadia, what do you think of Mark and Nolan's relationship this season?
We see Mark, he's really taking on more responsibilities after, finding out Nolan has another family. He's kind of picking up the pieces. Um, he's back home. He has to deal with this, this new realization. Basically, he also learns that he needs to save his father from the Viltrumites. We're gonna see like a lot more antagonists. So I kind of feel like this season is really more about like Mark not becoming his father. That's essentially like the main theme. He does not want to be his father. And I think you kind of were spot on before. It's like not a redemption for Nolan, but this season we kind of see Nolan kind of going through like a, I don't know, guilt, but I think he's starting to understand and maybe see like life as meaningful. I think they're kind of addressing that a little more, and maybe we'll see that even further next season. But I think this season was really Mark just essentially figuring out who he is and not becoming his dad.
Um, where I think you can kind of see in the last episode, he recognizes that he's starting to feel for for like he felt for the inhabitants of the planet where he had his second son. He's starting to feel for humans, and that's not the Viltrumite way. So you can kind of see like he's changing, and it's not for the better. But we also got a look at another Viltrumite that had changed, and the leader of the full council, he was a former Viltrumite. He had a change of heart, and that's why he's preparing everybody for the war. Justin, what did you think about that whole arc going through?
That whole arc is basically, I think I said this before in the spoiler review. I mean, spoiler free review, but this whole arc kind of was very Mark's great power, great responsibility moment, and we've seen that with the way he has to balance everything. He had to balance college, relationship with his mother, his relationship with Amber, his relationship with his father, which is just the driving force and that fear of him being half Vetromite and him wondering like, oh my gosh, am I going to be just like my dad? But I think one thing we overlooked is our secondary villain,
Mm.
our little time traveler friend who
Angstrom Levy.
yes, who has a like that first episode when we get introduced to him in the second episode as well. His powers alone, I was like, this guy could be a threat. I felt the way he was written off was a little anticlimactic at points,
Yes.
but I get why they're doing that because he's not the main big bad. He's not the main focus of it. But the fact that he came back later in the season was just like, hey guys, it was kind of felt like, hey guys, remember me? I'm still around. But I doubt they did it. They did pay it off well. It just kind of felt anticlimactic, but the battle was good. The way they were going to different timelines,
Hmm.
different parallels and things like that. But I felt that the relationship, the core of this story theme is just family, relationships, that balance that Mark is trying to do to be invincible and just still trying to have a little bit of that human life. And I think him being human is what, having that human fear, because if you look at all these Viltrumites in the show so far, they're pretty much fearless at points. And for Mark, because he has that human element, it's for him. For him, it's more. It's his strength, and I think they did that very well. It's just like him being human, even though he is invincible, is his strength. And I thought they played off the conflict between him and his dad, him struggling with being invincible, the relationship dynamic with him and Amber. I thought that relationship was presented very realistically as well. And I think one thing I forgot to mention is the fact when the female, I forgot the girl's name, the female Viltrumite came and grabbed Amber and she was fearing for her life. That is when that light bulb came in. It's just like, I don't think I can do this because I could have legit died right now. I thought they put that perspective of what is it like to date someone who is a hero or a superhero in this moment, and how does that seem from from the eyes of people beyond the hero? I thought they captured that very well, especially the dangers that come with it.
Yeah, I think that stuck with me because the one thing I would really hate is for them to just write Amber off for Adam Eve,
Yeah,
even though we know how that turns out in the comic book. That would annoy me because I kind of hate when they do a comic book adaptation and the comic book did an excellent job showing how the relationship uh, rose and then fell, and then just to have her like disappear, I think that was a great way they did it. She realized what he was talking about, how he was, like why he was always going on, and that she really wasn't going to be okay with it because, look, they were just out on a date. And Viltrumite just showed up out of nowhere, had her by the neck, and she was so fragile. It's like, one, you have to take into account that Viltrumite had to hold back because just a slight twitch or scare, like she could have crushed her neck like it was nothing. Then the look in his eyes when she realized he wasn't even powerful enough to or fast enough to get to her before she would be killed. It was just like a realization that like my life could have been over just like that, and this is what it would be like every day, every moment at any time being with you. I thought that paid off so well. What do you think, Nadia?
Yeah, I agree on the whole like not using Amber as like a like a quick plot device, just throw her away. Because I'm trying to remember which episode it was, but where he goes, where Angstrom sends him into that portal and he sees future Adam Eve, and basically like apparently it hints that they have a thing in the future.
last episode. I think that was the last.
Huh?
That was
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah, so they hint that they have like a thing in the future. So I was hoping like same thing, that they wouldn't like abruptly like get rid of Amber, but I agree, like her being choked out and like basically being like this is going to be the rest of like her life. I think that was kind of a wake up point, and that was done pretty well. Back to Adam Eve, I also liked her arc because remember from before, the whole thing with Chicago, she felt like worthless and helpless, like she feels like she causes more trouble than help. And then Rex surprisingly is the one who gets her out of this, and I kind of like that. Like we saw like a different side of Rex. I think this season gave him more character development as well. So I think this season kind of did a little bit better with each character's like personal life too.
I think, overall, we could say like they really did a great job with this season. I mean, 2 years is a very long time.
Yeah.
To sit down and write out a season. They did an excellent job. And, I have to give it to Robert Kirkman. When we did that interview with him, he really didn't like allude to anything. Like he didn't let me know. He just told us like, this is going to be really good. You're going to get to see deep character developments. But listen, I just think that I would love to point out one episode to go. I mean, we could be here for hours pointing out point plots from episode to episode, but I just think there was so much going on in this season that you almost forget that like what this was a thing or that was a thing. I mean, we also forget like what happened to the planet Oliver came from, because remember his mom sent him away because she said, I won't even live long enough to see you become I'm only going to see you as a toddler. I won't even get it. He won't be like 3 or 4 by the time she sees him. She'll be, I think at a certain point, she was already old.
Yeah.
And they were on the planet for like less than a year. And that was crazy in itself. And to know that Mark helped rebuild that planet and to put them back together, and that Oliver, she was so brave about it. He was like, but Oliver won't have you. She's like, he's young. He's not even in a stage where he'll remember who I am. He's just gonna remember Mark's mom as mom. And I mean, that was deep in the story also. It's like, damn, bro. Like you won't even. And I'm wondering if they're gonna pay that off and like tell Oliver about his birth mother, or they're just gonna use Mark's mom as like she's always been there, because I'm pretty sure he's gonna have questions like, "Why am I purple?"
Yeah.
Like why am I purple? Everybody else
because he still ages faster, but not
Yeah.
as fast as the Thraxans.
Yeah, so it's like, what, like also like, um, you know, I was 4 yesterday, and I'm 12. Like, what's going on? Like, and I'm pretty sure, and I think even in the comic book, he ages fast, but because he's part Viltrumite, he's gonna age and still live longer than a normal human,
Yeah.
way longer. I mean, what? I think Omni Man is like 400 years old, so think about how that goes. I mean, these were the things that I I was into the entire season. Like, I just want to go around, and I'll start with you, Nadia. Tell me what was the best, like, like, just lay it out to people what you enjoyed and what you're looking forward to for the next season. Like, what's going on?
Mm. So I guess like I briefly mentioned, I do like how they kind of got a little more in depth with each character's arc. Like you even mentioned Donald before, and what's his name? Will. He
Yeah.
also had like an existential crisis, like, what am I? Who am I? I died. Like,
Oh
so that
my,
was
yes.
pretty
Yeah.
dark. So we even saw that. And then like the whole Guardians, like Immortal losing Kate, and then Monster Girl, and I forgot the other one's name, but they all
Robot.
kind of,
Robot.
yeah, they all kind of have like these, personal tribulations aside from being a hero, and then they all got basically like decapitated. And that was pretty brutal. But I don't know. I guess for the following season, I'm excited to see more in the Viltrum War, how they're gonna, get, I guess, Nolan, like how Nolan is gonna be freed, his whole interaction. Because remember at the end, like Alan comes, so I'm just curious how, like, we're probably gonna see like alliances that we didn't expect.
um, I guess what I'm looking forward to is, and it's something you brought up, and I'm glad you did. Um, we forgot about Will's relationship, and the guy, what's the guy's name with the glasses? See, this is
Yeah, I
really
was trying to
bad.
remember his
We're
name.
we're, we're doing a review, and we can't even remember everybody's name.
There's
But
so
I
many
mean, yeah,
names.
but that happens. But that just tells you how good this series was. Like, you were in the moment while you were watching it, but to watch his story arc, he was killed off, and then he's brought back, and then to
Oh,
find
Donald.
out how, what's it?
Donald.
Yeah, is it not, like, to find
Well,
out?
Donald is Cecil's guy, the guy with the
Yeah.
Oh,
glasses.
okay.
Yeah, Donald. That's what I'm talking about. To find
Yeah.
out that you've been killed so many times
Mm-hmm.
that you told Cecil, don't wipe my memory, don't let me remember it, so I don't go in worried about what's going on or how many times I died. And to know what has happened. Like, this man, like, we thought it was just a one time. He's died multiple times
Yeah.
in multiple missions. And to finally come to that realization while looking at Will and saying, you know what? I don't want to erase my memory anymore. I want to remember this so that I can
It
be
was
careful.
Rick.
Rick. That was his name, Rick?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Will is his roommate. Rick is
Yeah,
the guy that he
Rick is the
likes
guy. Yeah.
that died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to watch two people get rebuilt and not to understand what they are now, they're mostly robotic. They're
Yeah.
almost damn near immortal if you want to look at it. And to go through that was deep. And what I'd be looking forward to in the next season would be uh, a touch more on the relationships. But I want to spend, if you're going to do 8 episodes, I want to spend like a like maybe 3 episodes on the relationships and make that like every other episode. But I want to see like that Viltrumite war. I want to see fighting. I want to see somebody's got to get their head knocked off. I want to see people getting flung around. I want to see some real. I want you to give me what you gave me out of episode 1 and 2. That heartbreak of watching your favorite character. Maybe he doesn't make it this season. Maybe your favorite character gets bumped off, and like, let me know, like, take me through those battles. Like, I want to see brutality for this season. Like, I know that's bad to say. Like, people are like, what do you? I just want to see exactly what the comic book gave me. Like, the comic book was done well, actually. And mind you, I just want to let the viewers know, I read the comic book like a year before it ended. I went through. I actually got digital copies and read it up until it was ending the year I started reading it. So I really got into it. It's the same thing that happened to me with The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead was halfway through its run before I started actually reading it. So, Justin, what about you?
Me, I am team Adam Eve, so I definitely want to see more Eve next season, and especially after that ending where she told him like, "Hey, I love you, and tell the other me something, anything, even if you don't feel the same way. Give her some type of closure." And back in my mind, I'm like, so when, so when is he gonna say it? I mean, what's gonna happen with that? Because the seeds have now been planted. Instead of going through, and I like the fact that they did that instead of going the route of kind of like how an anime will do it. Like, okay, we're gonna drop little hints here. Will they or won't they? This whole long, drawn out arc until the whole confession comes and they decide to get together. Now it's just like, oh, future you said that you got feelings for me. Let me go back and tell you something to see what happens with that. Just like Sean said, I want to see a little bit more escalation action. As much as I like the action in this one, I will say it was more character driven this season compared to last season when it comes to the action. But definitely want to see more action here. I definitely want to see that female veteran and see where if they're even going to go there. And
I don't think they will.
Yeah, or find some way to get whatever. Well, that'll be a spoiler. Something happens with her. She's very important. I'll say that. I would love to see. I'm probably one of the few who really loves Mark's mom and her whole arc. So I want to see more of her in this and just see how, because her arc is she has a dark arc. I mean, she was literally called a pet to someone that she loved, and she's been pretty much going through depression and PTSD and just dealing with that. And then the fact that you're taking care of your ex-husband's love child and now you're forced to raise it because your son has this morality about him. I'm curious to see how that's going to develop. What's going to happen with Amber? Are they going to just write her off and just put Eve in her place? How are they going to handle that situation? So there's a lot for me on a character standpoint that they really planted seeds for that I want to see flourish and hopefully done right. And if it stays true to the comics, by all means. But even if they deviate just a bit to keep people from guessing the actual plot points, I'm all for that. But I'm really excited. Hopefully, it doesn't take 3 years. But we'll see what happens. Definitely worth it though.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
So, Nadia, you want to let the guys know, the people out there, where they can find you and where they can check you out and check out some of your stuff, because you've been doing some really cool things as of late. So, like, let everybody know who you are again.
So you could catch me on ONG. You can catch me at GothamGeekGirl.com, on YouTube, Instagram, rarely on TikTok, but mainly Instagram, Spotify, YouTube.
Okay, I see you on TikTok, so I just
it's all recycled.
Yeah, but this is Justin and Sean, and take us out, Justin.
Oh, as always, you're watching us here at TalkersOfGeeks.com. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell if you're watching this on YouTube. Helps out with the algorithm, and hit that like as well. And as always, you can check out our podcast, The Hour. Check out our recent interview with the CEO and creative director of the indie game High Water. You can check that out at TalkersOfGeeks.com. And as always, keep it locked here. Essential Anime's coming. UWL will be back later this summer. We have The Hour coming back in the spring. So a whole lot of content for you folks. Keep it locked here. Later days. Peace, love, and happiness. Peace.
Later.